Well, hey, everybody, Jeff Sutherlin on the Jeff Sutherlin Show. And boy, oh boy, do I have a guest for you today. His name is Shane Connette, and he hails out of South Carolina. I told you guys from the get go, I'd always bring in leaders. And yes, again, today we have another leader. Shane comes from the car sales industry, and Shane's actually been in the top 5% in car sales in the nation for several years running. And now he's in my real estate organization. So I am like doubly and triply blessed to have him for so many reasons. So Shane, it's so nice to have you. Welcome to the show today.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for having me, Jeff.
Absolutely. Well, first, let's kick it off. What's different between car sales and real estate sales? Tell us a little bit about that transition you just made, big changes in your life.
Yeah, for sure. So definitely some big differences, but luckily there's a lot that translates. And so I think the biggest and most exciting difference is the amount of time that I get to spend with my family. My 7-year-old son, he told me last week, he's like, Daddy, I love having dinner with you when it's light out. In the car business, there's three rules that are kind of similar to real estate. In real estate, it's all about location, location, location. In the car business, it was be there, be there, be there. And if you're not at the lot, you can't be selling at the lot. You can't do it from home. So there was a lot of hours put in there. I was blessed to be in an organization, Ensign Automotive, where it was probably the best schedule that I could have had in the car business. So it was either come in at 11, leave at 8, or come in at 9 and leave at 5:30. But most days it's leaving at 8 and getting home at 8:30. We're eating dinner at 9, and kids are going to bed at 10 and sometimes even 11. So that was a big push for me. So it was wanting to not miss my kids growing up. I have 5 kids. So my little tag is father 5 realtor, and every flavor of little kids. So 7, 6, 4, 2, and 6 months old. And so I just really wanted to be there. So it's kind of that's a big difference there. The similarities is it's work ethic pays. Zig Ziglar says that in sales, if you want a raise, you're the committee, you're the board, and your raise will become effective as soon as you are. And so, the effective practices, follow up with customers, getting more, tools in your belt to overcome objections, to walk people through the process in a seamless way, to get to the objective of purchasing a vehicle or purchasing a home. It's very similar there, so bringing in that work ethic, bringing in the customer service, that I had from that. And then just, 17 years of experience in negotiations, that definitely helps. Where I thought that it would be a direct correlation, it was a little different. So been blessed to jump right into deal after deal after deal. I guess we'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. But what I saw is, there's some, when you're on the 1 yard line and being able to push the deal in to the closing table, that's real. But there's little checkpoints along the way where, it's a big difference is service sales. So I can be a servant of people and walking them through a stressful scenario of purchasing a home, and being a calming presence for them and talking them off of the ledge when they're just like, I don't know, I think I'm getting cold feet. Okay, well, let's revisit your why. Why are you moving? And walk them through that and bringing them. And so it's, closing your customer multiple times throughout, and just making that. And I think that the ability to do that makes it a smoother transition for the customer and helping them get what they want. So yeah, there's some similarities and some differences for sure.
And these are things that AI will never be able to replace. I call it the red zone, right? It's the last 20 yards where you need a human being to understand emotional intelligence and all the things that buyers and sellers battle with and all the negotiating, right? That's something that we just can't replace in a real estate agent. And it sounds like one of the differences, I mean, if I'm wrong, what do you feel in terms of prospecting in the car business versus prospecting in real estate? Is it the same or is it a little bit different?
Yeah, that is very different. In car sales, you can be a secret agent and be successful. It's answering the phones or people walking on to the lot. Internet leads are distributed. There's nothing that you can do to gain more market share there. You just have to learn how to be as effective with the opportunities that you get. Say love the one you're with. And then in real estate, you got to pick everything up out of the mud. You got to figure it out. I mean, you can pay a lot of money to have leads come to you, but what I've heard is the real estate agent's favorite F word is free. So who can you go after that's free? And so a database of 1,300 people, that's free. People that I'm talking to, just I was in a gas station last week, and a guy was talking about how he was building up his credit and he was wanting to buy a house. And so just having the boldness to be like, hey man, I can help you with that, and got his information and talking to him with that. So you have to create it in real estate. And I think that's something that can be really scary for a lot of people, coming in. It's intimidating, where like life's not going to be handed to you on a silver spoon. You got to get out there, and be aggressive and put yourself out there and be vulnerable. So it's making the phone calls, and then social media has been really rewarding. And here's the thing too with that. It doesn't have to be perfect. Go on my social media right now. I promise you, you're not going to be impressed with how perfect it is, but I'm getting the content out there. I'm getting the message out there. My goal is I don't want anybody to wonder, is Shane Connette a real estate agent now? Whereas like, and when I was in the car business, I lost a deal by somebody who I work out with at the gym every single morning. They came into my dealership and they sat 5 feet away from me and bought a car from someone else. And when they saw me, they're like, "Oh, I didn't know you worked here." And I'll never forget that. And I was like, that's never going to happen in real estate. No one's going to ever not buy from me because they don't know I'm in real estate. So yeah, putting yourself out there, being vulnerable, picking it up out of the mud, that's a huge difference as opposed to the car business where it kind of comes to you.
Love it. Love it. I believe sales is all about coming from contribution and service. And all that is transferable, whether you're in the car business or the real estate service, is you have a heart for service and you have grit, right? Those two things make for a great salesperson, and you're coachable. So where in South Carolina are you? Because when this video goes out, I want everybody to know that Shane had this successful career in car sales, but he's already coming out of the gate. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in a minute. He's already out there doing so well for his clients. So what's your sphere of influence, Shane? What area do you cover?
Yeah, so I cover Spartanburg and Greenville County, and then I came from Florida. So anybody who is escaping Florida, like I did, and relocating here, so I understand the Florida culture very well, and I understand the transition into the South. It's kind of funny in Florida, you got to go north to be South. So explaining that transition. So my market is people moving here from Florida or anywhere else, and then the upstate is what they call it, the northern part of South Carolina.
That's awesome. And one of the other things I think that makes you such a great asset to any organization and just your family is you've been being trained, haven't you, by the Tony Robbins organization for like 6 years, right? And I'd like to ask you, what has that done for your life, and what are some of the things you've learned over the years?
Yeah, thank you. So it's amazing. So I've had my coach Russ Kyle with the Tony Robbins organization, like I said, for 6 years, and it's money well spent. From a personal standpoint, what I love is that Russ Kyle he addresses every area of our lives. So we have our body, our what are we eating, are we moving, our relationships, so my relationship with my wife, my relationship with God. He's a believer. And I believe in Jesus Christ, and he's my Lord and Savior. My relationships with my kids, with myself, my health. So there's all these different areas of our life. And so I came in because I wanted to make a transition. I wanted to transition out of the car business, saw that it was not going to work for my kids anymore to go to bed at 10. But then also stemming back to my senior year in high school, I had 8 bouts of depression, and it was seasonal depression. And it was, when I got in it, it was a rut that I felt like I couldn't get out. And it actually 6 years ago was the last time that I did. And what he helped me through was a mindset shift, but at such a deep level, it was an identity shift. So now I can say with all confidence that depression is no longer a part of my identity. And like I said, he's a believer, and so it's 2 Corinthians 5:17. So therefore, if anyone is in Christ, he's a new creation. The old has passed away; behold, the new has come. And so, having that shift, and anybody who's going through that, and it's not just, hey, I'm going to try, or I'm going to commit. It's really changing that identity, because when you come in, if I've heard in the last month, once I've heard it 1,000 times, that real estate starts with your mentality, and if you don't have the right mentality, if you're not right up here, it's not going to be right here, so. That's, I think, one big way.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So, holistic coaching, right? Talking about your mental state, your spiritual state, your relationship with God and your family. Because we know that in any sales profession, especially real estate, because real estate can be very demanding. If things are messed up at home, right, and your relationship is completely broken with your spouse, that's going to affect your business as your health, right? And so you have to kind of look at the whole picture, right? And so it's good to hear that you've been coached by somebody that looks at the whole picture. That's how I try to coach people too: family, business, finances, your health, your physical health, your spiritual health. It's all so important, right? And that goes down to morning rhythms too. I bet you, if I asked you what your morning rhythms are, I bet you have a few good ones, Shane.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I mean, I think we talked about it, starting with gratitude, and it's an attitude of gratitude, that will increase your altitude. And then waking up early, going to the gym every day, and then spending time in the word with God. And then I drive my kids to school, and so spending the time with them, praying with them on the way to school, that's all before 8 o'clock. So yeah, getting in those rhythms, gratitude, prayer, working out, getting the endorphins pumping, and spending a little bit of time with the family too.
And what's really cool about your story is I didn't know you battled with depression, right? And so that's very interesting. And you basically got through it through prayer and your relationship with God and probably so many things. And so if you're somebody out there that's listening to this and you're like, oh my gosh, this guy's really amazing. This Shane guy is really legit. Give him a call and talk to him if you're battling with that. He could probably share his testimony on how he worked through that, right? Because we're all here to help each other, right? And it makes life so much better. And real estate doesn't have to be, a lot of people are very lonely in real estate, and there's not a lot of people that they turn to. They're kind of on an island. And that's not what we're creating here, especially in my organization. We are friends, we're colleagues, we care about each other. We want each other to win for our families. And I want Shane deeply to win for his family. And so, speaking of his family, he's got 5 kids. Okay. I had 2 when I was busy. 5. This guy's like amazing. I can't wait to meet his wife someday. How do you actually balance everything, Shane? And do you think this move is going to be a good thing for your family systems, you being around more for your family?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, definitely want to answer that. But just to kind of go back, anybody who is struggling with depression out there, I want to touch on that. Something that was important to me because it's like, for the longest time, I was praying, I was in the word, and it was, someone, it was Russ kind of, taking me and breaking a pattern. Because when you talk about you're in depression, you feel like you're in a rut, right? Well, how do you break the rut? You break the pattern. And so, just something really quick I want to share on that is, it's Romans 12:2. So do not be conformed to the pattern of this world. The pattern of this world is, depression's part of that. It's not uplifting, it's not joyful, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. And so that's what I did. And in Tony Robbins, they call it the triad. So you have, when you're going into state, like yesterday we're on a call, right? Jumping up and down and getting into that powerful state. So you have your physiology, your body. Okay. When we think about someone who's in depression, they're going to be slumped over, right? Head down. When then you have your focus or your story. Where your focus goes, your energy flows. What story am I telling myself about the situation? And then you have your language. What words are we using? And so, when we think of somebody who's depressed, it's a story of woe is me. My focus is internal. I can't see past my nose. To be depressed is a very selfish state. So to break that pattern and okay, let's get our shoulders back. Let's get our chest up. Oh, yes. Oh, and boom, try to smile in a mirror for 30 minutes and stay depressed. You can't do it, right? And then so instead of saying, hey, life is happening to me, we switch it to, hey, life is happening for me. Life is a gift. And then, and what are these words? So when you're going through depression, ask yourself, what story am I telling myself about this situation? Is there another story that I can, and maybe there's a third option. So that's one thing really quick. But then to get back to your question, it's time blocking. It's been really helpful for, with not having the structure of the 9 to 5 of sitting at a desk. It's that from 9 to 12, that's when I make my phone calls. And so that's working in my business. And then in the afternoon, setting up appointments from that to work on your business. And then, so I set up appointments, and the goal is, hey, let's get 2 or 3 appointments every afternoon. And then if those aren't filled, then I get to fill those back with dialing for dollars. So having those blocks and times where I can work. And then in the same kind of mentality is I have time blocks for my family where I'm intentionally spending time with them, going on daddy dates, daddy walks, having date night with my wife. But then even past that is, so if you try to make an appointment with me during that time, I'll just say, hey, I'm so sorry, I have an appointment then, but this time works instead. And so defending the time blocks is more easier said than done, but that's definitely the system. We say a goal without a plan is just a dream, and we don't raise to the level of our goals, we fall to the level of our systems. And so setting the system of time blocking has been really successful for me. Is trying to have that time with my wife now that I can put my kids to bed at 8 o'clock, having the time from 9 to 10 to spend with her every day. Definitely something that, a goal in the system that we've put in place, but that has been successful to answer your question before my little tangent about depression.
Dude, you brought some wisdom right there, man. I hope people are taking notes. I mean, 80% of success is accountability. And so my experience has been champions actually crave it. They want accountability. They invite it into their life. And people that aren't so much of a champion shun it. They walk away from it. They don't want it. And I'll tell you what, you have to bury your ego and you have to be humble and bury your pride sometimes in order to really grow out of a coaching experience. So another person in your life had to kind of call you on the carpet on some of this stuff, right? And guide you through this, probably do some reframing, right? You did some reframing about what your true identity is and how you're showing up to the world. Right. So, wow, what a transformation that must have been in that relationship. Gosh, I bet you that was amazing. And the other thing you brought up was calendaring and protecting your time block. This is what I want you guys to learn out there. If you're a real estate agent or anyone for that matter, you're as effective as your calendar, right? So if you look at your calendar, I could look at your calendar out there and determine how effective you really are, how productive you really are. And are you protecting the most sacred thing in your life first and foremost? Your life with your spiritual life with God, your family life first. That needs to go on the calendar first, then your job third. Unfortunately, most people in business, a lot of real estate agents, business is number one. And you wonder why they're at the kitchen table on their phone when their family's eating around them. Not good. Not good. So it's like I'm learning a lot, Shane, from you today. This is so good, man. And you're demonstrating it. And as a newer agent, I hope you teach a lot of other people behind you that come behind you on how to do this because you already have the right habits out of the gate. Shane, when it's all said and done, let's project your career way out, decades out, right? And I can't even fathom the things that you're going to succeed in. I hope I'm around to see it. Um, it- and if I'm not, I'll be in heaven. But anyway, what do you want to be known for, Shane? At the end, like at the end of your career, what do you want people to say about you?
Yeah. I want to be known as somebody who loved God and loved others and that loved people well in the way that I conducted myself in real estate. It's just whatever you do, whether in word and deed, do it as unto the Lord. So real estate can be worship. The way that we bring it and the way that we serve our clients. I think about, I really think about you. If I can have the legacy that you do. I mean, if you guys know Jeff Sutherlin, he loves deeply, and I've only known him for a little bit of time, but he goes deep quick, and you can tell that he cares like that. And that was as I'm shopping, of different brokerages to go to. It was Jeff Sutherland and Kyle Sizemore that they really cared about me, and you don't see it a lot. It wasn't just transactional; it was relational, and the fact that they love God and that pours over in how they love others. That's what I want. I'll, would also, want to build generational wealth for my family, my kids and my grandkids to be taken care of. And what better way to do that than real estate? So yeah, that's the legacy that I would.
I love it. I love it. You and I believe in a law. It's called the law of reciprocity. I talk about it almost on a daily basis. What does that mean to you in your heart? Describe to you what that law means and how it shows up in your life.
Yeah, well, my dad was a big, big Zig Ziglar fan. Growing up, there was Zig Ziglar cassette tapes in the car, and he kind of installed the concept from Zig Ziglar. My dad was the best salesman I've ever met. I learned a lot, and a lot of the reason I am who I am today is because of him. And it's really cool. There's a picture of him and Zig that is near and dear to my heart. And if you know Zig Ziglar's, his most well-known quote is, "You can have anything in life you want if you help enough other people get what they want." And so when we come with that servant heart and we love deeply like Jeff Sutherland does, then it comes back. And so going into a meeting, not with what can I get and going into an interaction with a vendor and not just, hey, can you send me referrals? Hey, can you just send me people? Can you send me people? And what's in it for me? Not taking that mentality. So the mentality that I've taken so far is what can I do for you? And when I meet with a vendor, just say, hey, can you describe your perfect client to me? And then they do and say, okay, so is it all right if I send you like 10 people or just like that? And yeah, man, I'd love that. And then I take it the next step and I say, hey, can we do a quick video? I want to post it on social media, and I really just want to highlight your business. And then I only do that with people who have excellent work, who are of high moral character and integrity. And a lot of those people are people that have done work in my house. And then I, shoot a video, and it's partly because I'm learning how to edit better, but doing the overlays of, pictures of their work, the before and after pictures, the videos. And I put it over my face because I don't know how to do it over the full screen. And it's like, because it's not about me. I want to promote them. I want to bring them more business. It's been so cool because this wasn't my intention. This isn't the reason I did it. But the second video that I posted after going into real estate, I was promoting a buddy that I used to work with. And he's at a local builder. And it was just, hey, this is Kelby McCoy. If you work with him, you're going to be his friend by the end. And here's the properties that he represents, and let's highlight one. And someone called him up and said, hey, I was looking into that community, and I want to buy in there. Can I work with you? He's like, yeah, absolutely. He goes, actually, my brother and my mom, they want to buy in there too, and they both have homes to sell. And he goes, okay, well, great. Well, I can't list your house because I work for the builder. And they go, okay, who should we use? And they're like, the guy in the video. And so got 5 transactions from that, listed, got listing agreements for both of their houses. One of those is live right now, and then 3 buyer agreements. And like, that was not my intention going and meeting with Kyle. And so it was just like, I mean, a God thing, and what a blessing. And I said, okay, well, that's how I'm going to take my approach with vendors. That's how I'm going to take it with everybody, and just serve other people. And if you serve other people and just love on them, and be Jesus to them, it's going to come back. And so it's a cool product.
What a joyful way to build your business. What a joyful way, right? You didn't expect anything in return, and you extended that help and support and grace to somebody else, and it always comes around. It comes around one way or the other, man. And that's exciting. And to see that, I mean, how long has it been, Shane, since you actually started doing this full time?
Well, so I've been involved for 3 years, but full time tomorrow will be 30 days. It's
All
a
right. So 30 days. In 30 days, Shane, are you kidding me? And now you've got multiple contracts already. And that's why I wanted you guys to get to know Shane, right? Shane is a professional, right? So if you work with Shane, you're going to get, first of all, Shane, the best thing about it, but you're also going to get Kyle, and you're also going to get me, because we've got his back. So I want you to know that we will take care of you. Shane will take care of you. If there's something that Shane doesn't know, we will get the answer. I've got 26 years in the business. Kyle has, gosh, I think he's got 7 or 8, hundreds and hundreds of homes sold from Kyle, 1,200 homes sold from me. So, we know what we're doing, and we're his colleague. We're his business partner. So we're locked in we're locked in with Shane. And I hope today you got to see what an amazing human being that he really is. And Shane, I'll give you the last word. Is there anything that you'd like to share that we didn't talk about today?
Well, I mean, I think we touched on it a little bit. I think that it takes a village, right? So I love that I can tell every client that, hey, it takes a village. When you're working with me, it's all hands on deck, and we're going to work with you. I think that getting coaching is extremely important. I heard that somebody say once, the difference between counseling and coaching. In counseling, they look in the past and dig up daddy issues, which I have a counselor too, so you need it sometimes. But coaching, you're looking forward, and how can we be successful? How can we move the ship forward? And so I would encourage everybody on here to get a coach. I'm blessed that Jeff is my coach. I have a coach, Russ Kyle, and I do sales coaching as well. 17 years of experience in business. I love breaking down with companies, and I'll do a secret shopping of you and your competitors. And then also I'll implement a system, because like I said, you fall to the level of your system. And if you don't have a sales process, you're going to flip. So I think that, encouraging that, if you're in real estate, hire Jeff as a coach. And if you're not in real estate and you see that your team could use some help, a little boost, I'm available for that as well. So and if you're looking to buy or sell a home, I'm happy to help you any way I can.
Thanks for the plug, Shane. And if you do want to coach, I'm with Growth Yard Coaching. I own my own coaching company as well. You can look us up. Have a great, we have a great company offering amazing things for agents. Shane, how can somebody get a hold of you in the greater Greenville area, my friend?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can give me a call at 864-256-1122. You can reach out to me at shane.connette@exprealty.com or on any of the social media platforms. I'm the only Shane Connette out there. It's SHANE, and then last name is CONNETTE.
Very good. Thank you, Shane. What a great guest you've been today. Thanks for listening to the Jeff Sutherlin Show. We'll see you guys on the other side. Every single week, we bring the heat, and I hope you're watching my shorts too. Subscribe to my channel, the Jeff Sutherlin Show on YouTube. God bless everybody. Have an awesome day. Thank you, Shane, for your time.